good Thursday morning. I can't help but feel pride this morning. Celtic pride, if you will. A team down 17. A team that is down 9-0 right off the bat. Things not going their way. But a group that bonded together and said, listen, we are the better basketball team. We play defense. Let's grind this thing out. Let's shut down Kevin Durant. Let's shut down Kyrie Irving. And let's grind this thing out. And that's exactly what they did. Kevin Durant, his worst second half in his career. Terrible in the fourth quarter. And Jason Tatum, who didn't have his best game, shows why he might be the best player in this series. We know who the best team is in this series, and they're one step closer to finishing off the Brooklyn Nets in another year of disaster for them going up 2-0. Mets lose, getting a big hole, can't get out of it. Yankees win and actually look pretty good doing it. And we had a nice long day yesterday that I'm still not recovered from. I think I might have pulled an oblique. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Good morning, G, man. I'm doing great, man. I had fun yesterday down in West Sayville Golf Course, and I appreciate you inviting me and my buddy Eric. And we had a lot of fun, man. It was just an absolutely great day. Now, listen, watching this game last night, and flipping back and forth and trying to watch two baseball games, a basketball game. I'm all over the place. But last night, my new favorite player was all mic'd up. Marcus Smart.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Defensive player of the year.
Listen, you can say whatever you want about anybody else. You just listen to what he was saying on the court last night. We're in this. We got to come back. We never get down. We persevere. I mean, it was amazing. He was like General Patton. I mean, he just basically showed everybody what a leader is like and how you overcome deficits. And how you got to fight. And this is one of the reasons why, he's a tremendous leader. He was Defensive Player of the Year. And the one thing I do know is Kevin Durant will come back. He'll have a huge game, I bet you, in Game 3 on Saturday. But they are absolutely killing him. They're going after him. They're bumping him. They're putting him on the floor. I mean, it is basically a mauling is what's going on. And unfortunately, he did not get any – I don't think he really got a lot of support from Kyrie Irving last night. He was getting support from some other guys. I thought Andre Drummond was trying to do his best that he possibly could in terms of being physical as well. Man, but when you watch everywhere where Kevin Durant's going and from setting picks to people running into him to him trying to get to where he needs to get to set picks, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It is a mauling. And I'm telling you right now, this coach – Ime Udoka for Boston has got his guys revved up. I mean, they are revved up. We could sit here and talk all day about Steve Nash and his coaching situation. I think he's been more of a psychotherapist for the last 3 years, and I feel bad for him actually, because he does not have the players' attention the way that Udoka seems to have the players' attention for the Celtics and the way the Celtics are playing. So, man, they have dug themselves a hole. You're hoping to try to split that first 2 games on the road, and they didn't do it. And now they got to come home, and they're going to have to play. They're going to have to play so much better in terms of four-quarter basketball. I mean, they played great in the first half, and they had support from other players. But the second half, man, Boston just put it in high gear and played defense, man, and it got so physical. And if they're not going to call the fouls, then I just don't see how the Nets are going to get themselves out of this.
Yeah, well, Kevin Durant, I'll give him credit after the game. He was not complaining about officiating. He goes, this is what playoff basketball is. And he's going to have to watch the film and get better. And he said all the right things. He didn't complain about getting clocked. He said every time I get the ball, there's 2 or 3 of their guys, and they're ready to hit me, basically, is what it is. And they completely shut him down. And you're seeing two groups that are completely different. One team that has played together for a long time, that has had guys there that know each other. Another team that has been slopped together and has not played together, whether it be injury, vaccination status, guys not being on the team. Quite frankly, I was watching this game last night, and you may laugh when I say this. This is a team that needs James Harden. Like, they need somebody else to create for them because the two of them ain't cutting it. Like, that's what it comes down to, is Ime Udoka found a way to shut down at least one of them at any point in the game, and now also has found a way to shut down both of them, which is what happened last night. So Steve Nash, who I thought in the beginning of this game, because it was Bruce Brown who was doing everything in the very beginning, found a way to get the role players involved, and maybe things would be different. But no, it wasn't different in crunch time. It wasn't different in the fourth quarter. And it's still scramble plays, get the ball to Durant, get the ball to Kyrie, and hope for the best.
And stand around and watch.
It's not going to cut it in the playoffs, man, against a team that's as good defensively as the Celtics. I'm sorry. And if that's all you got, then you might as well just we'll see you next year.
I don't know. Maybe I'm not seeing the game the way everybody else is. I see backdoor cuts by the Celtics. I see penetration by the Celtics, which in the playoffs takes a lot of guts. I see guys standing wide open at the 3-point line because Brooklyn's trying to help defensively, but then they're leaving their players open. Then, of course, Tatum is he's a tremendous, tremendous player. And even he didn't have a great game last night. And it was interesting. I was listening a little bit to the pregame show with Capstraw and Carino.
Yeah.
And they were talking about how both teams did not feel like they played their best game in game one, that it was way too choppy. There were too many turnovers. I would say that the Nets followed up the second half yesterday with the way that they played in the first game. The first half was pretty damn good because other guys got involved, and you need other guys to get involved, just like Shaq said at halftime.
Yeah, I mean, it was good, but it could have been dominant, and they allowed them back in with a run towards the end of the second quarter. I mean, they really could have gone into half up big and did not. But, yeah, I mean, I would agree that it was pretty good, but the game turned. When you're talking about going from whatever it was, 17 down to 9, then I guess they went in at the half up 10. I mean, that's a big deal, as opposed to, obviously going in 17 or more.
The Nets scored 65 points in the first half.
Yeah, they were very, very good. But, they let their guard down a little bit and let the Celtics make it a more manageable lead at half.
I think they were outscored 29-17 in the fourth quarter. I don't know. It still comes down to defense and making shots, and there is no question in my mind that it looks completely different. This brand of basketball that is being played right now, especially between these two teams, there is very little space out there. And when there is space out there, for whatever reason, Kevin Durant's just not hitting his shots. I have no problem with Kevin Durant, great basketball player and everything, and I think he's going to come back and probably have a huge game in front of the home fans on Saturday night. It'll be a completely different atmosphere.
But this team has not been good at home. I mean, the Nets are not a good home team, and they haven't been the entire year. But tell me how Kyrie Irving, who, wants to middle finger the fans, and I gave him a pass for it because they're all over him, like, whatever. It was entertaining to me. I'm not going to sit here and judge him for that, but you better back it up when you come back and play, is going to, give the same energy back to the fans and blah, blah, blah. Comes out last night in 40 minutes and is 4 of 13, shoots 1 3.
Yeah.
How do you shoot 1 3-pointer last night?
It was almost like he was disengaged. I kind of felt like he was.
And he only got to the free throw line twice?
I felt like he was totally disengaged from the game. I don't know what it is.
How? I mean, you want to tell me, and now there is a part of it, the whole, he did not eat. There was the Ramadan situation. He didn't eat until, somewhere midway through the first quarter where they took him out and then they gave him some fruit and everything else. It could have been a factor.
It may have been. I don't know, but it just like he was. He just was. That's not the Kyrie that we saw in game one.
No, not at all. I mean, he was dominant in game one. I don't know how, after all that smack talking and back and forth and inspiration from the fans and all that, how you can come out and put up that type of stinker in this game too, which is obviously a critical game too. So I wouldn't be surprised still if the series went 7 just because of the talent with the Nets, and that's what I said from the beginning. But last night what you saw was, once again, after a long stretch between games 1 and 2 where adjustments could have been made, that the same stuff happened in the critical moments of the game.
Right, in the second half, yes. The first half, they moved the ball. Other players got involved. They were making shots. And then when the game gets to nut-cutting time and you got to put the ball in the hands of your stars, the way that the Nets are built and the way that they play, I feel like there's so much like resting on their shoulders, on Kyrie and Kevin's shoulders.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And they want it that way. That's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way that, that Steve Nash has got this thing set up. And Udoka does not have it set up that way. Udoka has guys that have bought into whatever he's selling, telling them this is how we're going to play defense, and his team is executing the defense, and they're being physical. And, the other thing, too, you can just tell by the body language of the Boston Celtic players, they're sick and tired of hearing about the big threes, the big twos. We got our own guys. And that Marcus Smart, man, I'm telling you, he is like the engine that makes that whole thing go.
Absolutely. I mean, he's always played with a chip on his shoulder. I remember him, what was it, at Oklahoma State, ended up like pushing a fan or something, and then that's why people thought his draft status was going to drop, and he was a hothead or this or that. He has harnessed himself into one of the best, well, he was the best defensive player this year, but just a tremendous basketball player, all-around basketball player.
Team, and it goes to show you just how important it is to have a point guard that, number one, can handle the ball, number two, play defense, and number three, be as vocal and being as positive as he possibly can be to his teammates. I mean, he's literally an extension of the coaching staff on the court. And that was I didn't know that about him until last night.
Sure.
I mean, I've read about him and certainly have watched him enough to know that he's a good player, but I didn't realize how impactful a player he truly is until he won that award. And then last night they had him mic'd up. And I don't know, you listen to him, that's exactly what you want. That's exactly the type of leader. You want the leader that's going to be right there, front and center. Things aren't going good. And he's telling his guys, come on, we could do this. We got to grind through it. I mean, all the things, all the cliches that when they come true and the way he does it, I don't know, I take my hat off to him. That's a leader right there, my man.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't argue it. And I think back to some of the best teams that we've seen, the most talented teams that we've seen. You think about Kevin Durant on the Warriors. That's probably the most talented team we have ever seen, with Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, talking about in modern basketball in the last, I would say, since maybe since the 90s, let's say. That team, Draymond Green, and those guys found a way with the star power that they had to find their roles and play team basketball.
Well, they're two of the best shooters in the NBA.
Well, yeah, of course.
Three of the best shooters.
But so when Kevin Durant got there, though, Steph Curry was a different player. Draymond Green basically did sort of the same stuff, but Steph Curry was a different player. You have, Kevin Durant who comes in and, basically you have to cater to what he does, but they were able to figure it out. The point being is that with this group, not only are they lacking that third person, because you don't know who that's going to be, and then you saw some flashes last night. Like you saw some flashes from Patty Mills, you saw some flashes from Goran Dragic, you obviously saw some flashes from Bruce Brown early on in the game. But there's not a consistency there from that third guy. And then also, when you're thinking about like, all right, you're down 2 with 10 seconds to go and you got the ball and it's an inbounds pass and you're thinking, do they have a plan? You know what I'm saying? Do they have an idea what they're going to do? Is it just like, get the ball to 7, get the ball to Kyrie, just figure it out because he'll just elevate and shoot over somebody and we'll win the game?
Essentially, that's it.
So and that won't work against a team like the Celtics. It's just not going to work, and it hasn't worked yet. And they show their flashes. They get up big. I mean, they could have very easily won game 1. But, better than anybody. The margin of these games in the playoffs, I mean, really, it's going to be that slim with the talent that's out there. And it's really going to come down to better coaching, better team basketball, and better floor leadership like you saw from the Celtics last night.
Well, yeah. They're not going to get swept. That's not going to happen. And I do think that, I'm telling you, Saturday night, it will be different. The place will be charged up, and I do think that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving will play great on Saturday night. I do, and I think they'll get themselves back into the series. So I'm kind of with you. I think that this thing is going 6 or 7 games.
Yeah, I still would say yes. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if Boston went up 3-0, but those two guys are too good to go down meekly. I can't see them getting swept or losing in 5. I really can't. As much as I would love that, it almost seems impossible.
I was thinking you were like all pumped up last night.
Yeah, no, I was. No, I absolutely was. I mean, I was bummed out in the beginning of the game because I was like, uh-oh. I mean, this team is, they're getting that tertiary, if you will, scoring, and they're looking great, and they're playing better defense, is that they're going to steal one, and they're going to end up going back to Brooklyn 1-1. That's what it felt like after that first half. But, man, I mean.
Yeah, I didn't realize that Kyrie wasn't eating yesterday. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And now that I know that, maybe it does explain why. It seemed to me like he was just checked out. Like he was not nearly as
It's not an easy thing to do, man. I
know that.
Like fast the whole day and then play NBA basketball.
He's supposed to be like this guy that has the ball in his hands and creates and gets the ball to people that are open or makes incredible shots himself. But then again, it's just it's another Kyrie thing.
Yeah,
It's just another Kyrie thing.